Today on the pod, I talk with Clear Fork two-sport athlete Brady Awe. Brady talks about the impact COVID has had on sports the past year, coaches that have helped him out along the way, and what he will miss most about being a student athlete. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Bases Loaded podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Kennedy, and today my guest is Brady Awe. Brady, how's it going, buddy?
Going good.
Going good. We fortunate enough to be a student athlete here from Clear Fork High School and enjoying your snow day. We tend to get a lot of snow days. What do you do on your days off of school and wrestling?
I take advantage of them by not really doing anything.
Love it. So you kind of think that you bust your butt on the field on the mats and in the classroom, which is now at your home through Zooms.
Yeah.
So you want to take those days off when you get it. Love it. So how old are you and what sports do you play at Clear Fork?
So I'm 17 and I play football and I wrestle.
Good deal. So a lot of most people got impacted big time last spring with all the sports being canceled, but you kind of saw it up close and personal with everything getting canceled at the end of wrestling season last year. Can you talk us through what your experience was with that?
Yeah, so I was like done after districts, but I was still drilling with Isaiah every day, like practicing with him every day. And it was the day before state. So we were getting ready to last practice and then head up there early the next morning. And I think I was in your class and I was just scrolling through Twitter and saw the OHSAA postpone the tournament. And I like texted Allerding and I was like, what's all this about? So then we just went, met up in the field house, and he was like, yeah, we haven't really heard anything except for that. It's
Yeah,
not this weekend.
yeah, as I say, because at first it was like there were so many, only so many tickets that people
Yeah.
could get and all that stuff, and then obviously things were canceled. What? Wait a minute, why were you on Twitter during my class? That's kind of, I guess that's my next question. I didn't have written down. What's going on?
I think you were done teaching. You're
Good,
taking the time off for the day.
good answer. Good answer. So for you this year, how has sports been different? Obviously, with all the pandemic, all the rules than previous years of sports.
It's been weird. I mean, our coaches have done a pretty good job of trying to keep it as normal as possible, but obviously that's hard to do. Like football, I think the biggest thing was the locker room, especially during halftime, because the sometimes we were able to use the locker room and sometimes we weren't. So it was always just like annoying, just kind of not knowing and having to bring your own water bottle. But
Yeah, the
wrestling,
as
it's
I say,
been
the water bottle thing's pretty weird for you guys for football. But what about yeah? Go ahead. What about wrestling?
wrestling. It really hasn't been too because it's hard to cut back on wrestling. Like it's basically you're either gonna do it or you're not. So besides like the fans being limited, it's really been the only difference. And like we're always missing kids pretty much to quarantine, but that hasn't been too bad.
As I say, have you missed or you guys in general, your team, have you guys missed much time because of quarantine stuff?
Yeah, we've missed quite a bit. Me, Isaiah, and Colton all got quarantined at the very beginning of the season, like before our first tournament. So we are like a week into our quarantine, and then they end up shutting our whole team down for 2 weeks. So then me, Isaiah, and Colton come back, and it was like just us three and Travis Bowman. So it was like
Wow.
just us four for like a week and a half practicing, and then we ended up having our home tournament with five wrestlers.
Jeez, oh Pete's. So with wrestling, is it weird to not shake hands with somebody? Before
Yeah,
you, because you've done that your whole life since you've wrestled, right? Before a
yeah.
match.
We still we still do it quite a bit. It really almost just like depends on the ref and on the kid. Like a lot of kids still do it. I still do it quite a bit. Every now and then you'll get a ref that's like no and it's really strict about it. But it's definitely weird, especially like not shaking a coach's hand.
Right. You'd hate to get like dinged and Coach Allerding's like, hey, how's come we got points deducted for for this tournament? Like I
Yeah.
shook a kid's hand.
Yeah.
Crazy. So with wrestling, wrestling's kind of the sport that if you don't do it or you don't know about it, it's weird.
Yeah.
People think wrestling's weird. What would be your sales pitch for kids to maybe try wrestling at a younger age?
Yeah. Wrestling is definitely not a glamorous sport. But the biggest thing for me is like the competition. like winning like a wrestling match, like a close match, like there's very few feelings better than that because it's just you out there. But like the things it's done for me, like with my hard work and my work ethic, has been crazy.
Good deal. So individually for you, going into your senior season, for football, what expectation or goals did you have?
Um, so I think my biggest goal for myself was to get 100 tackles, averaging 10 tackles a game. But that was really the only personal goal I had. Other than that, it was more team stuff. But
And how close were you to accomplishing that goal? See, here's the deal. We talked about this in the pre-pod. I had no idea, and it pains me to ask you this question, but how close were you to that?
I was at 97 without
And I
hitting.
was I was say, so you're 3 away from your goal. Was there anything that kind of held you up with accomplishing that goal?
Yeah, so missing the second half of our last game was definitely not fun. I didn't even know how close I was at the time, but yeah, I mean, missing the second half of my last game ever sucked anyway already. And then realizing I was so close, I was just mad at that point.
So, what goals did you have for wrestling this season?
But so I want to get to 100 career wins. I'm getting close. I think I'm 9 away now. And then not really any stats at the beginning of the year. There were a couple like I was hoping to get the Clear Fork win record because I was really close last year, but then obviously like COVID, like less matches and all that has hurt that. So now I'm just kind of focused on the postseason, MOAC title, and then making it to state.
So you mentioned missing the second half of your final football game of your high school career.
Yeah,
Describe that game because I feel like people always kind of remember their last match or last game your senior year.
yeah.
Describe that for you. What emotions was going through your brain then?
So we're playing well. Like it was a good game. And then I'd hurt my hamstring like 3 weeks before in our first playoff game. But so I missed a couple practices, but I hadn't actually missed any games. And then it was like halfway through the second quarter, and I felt it pop again. And so I was on the ground for a little bit, and I stood up, and the ref was like, "You gotta go off," because I was down for too long. So I jog off, and Jameson comes up, and he's like, "Is it your same hamstring?" And I was like, "Yeah, it popped again." And he was like, "All right." So he walks away, and I walk up and go back in the game, like the very next play. And so we run through that play, and I was like, "This is not going to be fun." And then they saw that, pulled me back out, and Jameson just came up to me and he was like, "Yeah, you're done."
So who are some people that have helped you out so far along the way so far in your career?
So Coach Bailey, the our seventh grade football coach and middle school wrestling coach, has been huge for me. Not like he's done a lot of stuff for me outside of sports, like helping me out with family stuff and all that. So he's been huge for that and just being like a really good role model for me. And then, so Coach Mike was basically like the only coach I really interacted with, like my freshman, sophomore, junior year of football. Because really all I did was play defense, and he was my position coach. So I was always with him. And he's a coach. He he has yelled at me very hard several times. But the thing with him is like he'll yell at me and scream at me, but like once I do it right, it's like the exact same intensity, but like excitement, which is always fun to see. And then one of the biggest ones has been Coach Allarding. He's just been huge. Like all 4 years of high school, we've always been really close. He's just been like a coach I could talk to, and obviously he's helped me out a lot with wrestling.
So which is your favorite sport and why? Wrestling or football?
Um, So like whichever season I'm in, that's the sport I'm focused on. Like when I'm in football, I'm not really thinking about wrestling. When I'm in wrestling, I'm not thinking about football. But when it comes down to it, probably wrestling, which not even like the whole like the sport as a whole, but for me it's like more of like a family thing and like the bond we build as a wrestling team has been huge. And part of that's been like we've pretty much had the same team since I was a sophomore, like aside from like the freshman classes that have come up. But my class and the class below me has pretty much been the starters the last 3 years. So we've been able to like grow with each other, and we've all become super close.
Sure. So what plans do you have personally for college and just your future in general? Do you have a 5-year goal? You kind of we talked about this a little bit in the pre-pod. What do you think? What's your future plans?
So I don't have too in-depth of plans yet. Right now, the plan is to go to college, and right now I'm leaning at going out of state, and I think Florida is the front runner, just to kind of get out of Ohio and see what else there is. And then if I ever want to, I can always come back. But
I was gonna say, having a snow day like this, you're like, all right, just in case I
yeah,
needed a reminder of why I need to get the heck out of here.
yeah, exactly. Like how many inches of snow we got last.
Right, right. So what are you gonna miss most about being a student athlete at Clear Fork?
For me, it'll probably be the competition. I just love competing and winning and the feelings that come with it. But I think the biggest thing is like basically my life has revolved around sports in school the last 6 years because I've basically like everything into football, wrestling, and school. So that's taken all my time. So it's definitely going to be weird not having those and like figuring out other stuff to do and move on. But so that'll probably be the hardest thing.
So what about Clear Fork lunches? Is Bosco Sticks the best lunch?
Uh, no, not Bosco
Really,
sticks.
really? Okay.
I'd probably go with the Clear Fork Chicken Bowl.
Explain
Always
what that
probably been
is.
my favorite.
I mean, explain what that. I pretty much we know, but go ahead and explain.
So it's just the base of mashed potatoes with just like chicken, uh, breaded chicken, and corn on top. And you can get gravy on it, but I'm not really big into the school gravy, so I usually leave it and cheese.
So if
But
you are not
definitely,
worried about, yeah, as I say, if you're not worried about making weight, maybe it's during football season or even after, like wrestling, or maybe you don't have a meet or a tournament that week,
yeah,
and not Bosco. It's Clear Fork. What do we call it? Clear Fork CF Chicken Bowl. I love it. I love how it's like labeled like it's ours.
yeah,
Everybody else probably like it's probably called the Warrior Bowl in Ontario, right?
yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Bosco Sticks is usually the go-to
I
for
mean,
a lot of kids.
they're good. Yeah, they just like they might. There's like a 50-50 shot you might choke on them, so they're kind of hit or miss sometimes.
Oh man, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Um, so explain this to me real quick, and we talked a little bit about this today. Uh, the whole remote learning thing. I've seen a lot of people saying, how tough it is, and parents and everything else. And I do not envy being a parent of younger kids, or being a younger kid, or being a teacher for younger kids. But high school, dude, you got it made, right?
Yeah, it's easy.
You're like, yeah, it's easy. Now, are you a video guy, or are you not a video guy? Because I'll be honest, as a teacher, when I have
It
to,
depends on the class.
it depends on the class. Let's say when I have to remind them, hey guys, turn your video on, and they're like, oh my gosh, dude, for real? It's like, yes, this is school. So it depends on the class. What about, do you participate if a teacher asks any questions?
Yeah, yeah, I participate sometimes.
I
I
say,
think
do you like raise your hand?
no. I mean, I'll participate if they ask me a question. I'm not gonna just sit there, but
Yeah, you don't
other,
want you don't want to sound like you're too like into the lecture.
yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, all right, Brady, thanks a lot for being on the podcast, man, and best of luck to you in the future.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thanks a lot for listening to another episode of the Bases Loaded podcast. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bases Podcast.